highlight. So you've gone to a comic convention or you plan to go to one because you've been super inspired by what you've seen, and a lot of the costumes have been made from scratch, and I'd love to teach you how to do some beginner's tips to learn how to sew for yourself. I'm Eclipse and I've been going for 10 years. I've been learning for the same amount of time, where I've watched thousands of YouTube videos learning how to sew as a self-taught person, and also some fashion intern experience along the way. So let's get started. So there being plenty of sewing machines on the internet, I personally go for the brand called Genome, and I've been recommended that by haberdasheries, hobbycraft, anywhere like that. And also I personally went for the computerized sewing machine after I had to deal with the pedals, because everything's gone a bit more advanced, and I was so scared of getting something like this, but I realised that was silly and I think this is great. So you can often pick these thread spools up from a local haberdashery, and usually you can go for any type of cotton. It doesn't have to always be branded, but the best one I've found, and a lot of other sewing people have found, is that the Gutermann thread spools are really good and they hold up well for many years. And I personally love them myself, although they're a bit more on the expensive side, but you can just go for ones like these. They're usually around or up to £3 spools, so they're very tiny and they go into the bottom part of the sewing machine. So if I get it right here, it'll go in that area. So there's one white one in there, so it'll go in that section. Next is to grab a 30cm ruler or longer, and this is because you'll be using things like tailor's chalk. So if you grab this as well, they usually look like this, and they come in three. So there's a blue one, a white one, and also a red one. I've been using mine for years, hence why they look a bit smaller than usual. Very long tape measure, and they usually come in inches or centimeters at the back, and this is for when you're taking all of your body measurements and when you're measuring on fabrics as well. Also grab yourself a pin cushion. You can either get them for your wrists like myself, or I usually just have stuck to a pin cushion that is shaped like a turtle. I've had this for years, but they can come in smaller sizes as well. And make sure you get a pack of pins. They come in different heads as well, flowers. So the other thing to get is to also grab some dressmaking scissors. So these are really sharp. It's a very long pair of scissors compared to the average. And then a smaller pair of scissors just to snip threads or smaller pieces that are a bit more intricate. And they usually come in kits as well, so you don't have to worry about getting them all separately. They do kits now in various fabric shops. Also, to get a scrap piece of fabric, there are fabric squares in places like Hobbycraft or any fabric shop really, or anything that you have lying around the house that's big enough, but I personally get something bigger just to test out a little bit more. And then last but not least will be a fabric picker, which has become my best friend and many others' best friends throughout the years. So if you see here, the threads are in a straight stitch line. You'd get this fabric. So as you can see here, there's a straight line. You'd get this fabric picker, and because it weaves through the fabric when you're sewing, you can put it through one of the loops. See here, one of the loops, which that came up on camera. It's hooked through, and then you just unpick it like that. But you continuously do that at the front and a bit at the back, just so you can release the stitch. And that will help you to get restarted again. I've had to repick many garments and cosplays throughout the years, so don't be upset if you make a lot of mistakes. It's very frustrating, but it just happens sometimes. Usually the spool will be put here, and then there are directions, so that's number 1. Number 2, you go down there, and then you can spot number 3. You go back up, and then you do number 4, and usually if it's not already up, you will do this. You use the adjust on the side and you will see it come up. Make sure it's up there, and then you crack it round, go down until you see number 5, and then you will see that thread's gone through there. You put it around there, that hook area, pull it down and thread it if you can. There's an automatic threader here that usually comes down, so you can use that to thread it. So you'd put it around there, put it on there, and then shove it, and then it will thread itself and pull itself back here. And then you just put it all the way to the back, have it hanging off, and make sure there's at least, I would say, up to there of it hanging off, because once it starts running it will be pulled back like this. So make sure there's excess hanging at the back. So I put my bobbin into the bobbin case and I've put the thread through 2 loops. They'll be directed for you on the machine itself, hopefully. And then you put it around to the back and make sure that the thread is going through where the hole of the needle goes, as well as the top thread. Put the protective screen back on, and then make sure to use the dial on the right hand side. And then I'm just winding it around, making sure that the needle goes up and down as it's trying to catch the bobbin at the bottom. So it's managed to catch a little bit, and then make sure you've got some kind of very skinny tool to unpick where the threads are. And then you can see there's a white bit and a pink thread as well. So make sure there's excess threads hanging off at the edge. So usually for sewing cotton you set it to 2 or 3, or for most fabrics. And if you have a computerized sewing machine, then it usually comes up for you, so you don't have to do anything yourself. The only thing you will have to do is sliding it from slow speed to high speed, but I've never done the triple one. That's insane for me at the moment. So this goes incredibly slow, so I'll show you the speed with the first one. So that's how fast it goes. This button puts the needle down, so I'll get a piece of that. From the needle to the 3.8, that's usually around a centimetre. And I'm just going to do some test sewing. So with this scrap piece of thread, I line that up on the board. Use this lever here to pull it down, and then I can either use the slide dial here to push it down, or I can use this computerized button to actually do it for me. And then I'll show you a few stitches. So you can actually practice just by pressing the start button. It'll be a straight stitch, which is the stitch for majority of fabrics anyway. So pressing start. Or if I want to go a bit faster, I'll pull this dial here. I'll put it back down. And it will sew straight through. You just have to gently guide it. Don't pull from the back and then try and push it through. Just let it do its own thing. But make sure it's sewing straight along the edge. And then when I get to the end of the garment, so we pretend it's the end, you make sure to do a back stitch. Come closer to get that icon. You will hold it down and slowly guide it back. And this is to make sure that the stitch doesn't come undone. So I'll pull up the lever, make sure the needle comes all the way out with the dial. And there we have the straight stitch going down and the back stitch at the very end. Get yourself a pair of scissors and snip it out. There you go. If your machine has a pedal because you prefer it and you don't want to go with the computerized option, then make sure your foot pressure is very light. Now I won't mention the tape measure, but I will mention also having a mannequin. So it doesn't have to be adjustable like this one, but this one is adjustable, so if I take this off, it will have the neck adjustments, chest, waist, hips, and it usually goes continuously around the whole of the adjustable mannequin. You just have to make sure you take the correct measurements with a tape measure. Okay, so that's everything for your initial sewing kit. There's plenty more to gather throughout the years, but I would say just to get those to get started, it can be extremely overwhelming, so I'm going to be going through a whole series of what you can do throughout the future. Now I just wanted to mention a mini story of when I got my very first sewing machine, and what on earth was I thinking when I got my sewing machine and I decided that I wanted to do a Princess Tiana ball gown, which I'll show right here. I said that to the shop owner because he was saying, oh, what would you like to make? And I was thinking, oh, I really love Disney. The Princess and the Frog has just come out and I really want to be Princess Tiana. I showed him a picture of what it was and he just looked at me and was like, okay, well this is how to use a sewing machine. Good luck. If you finish it, I will put it in my shop window on display. So when I did actually make it, I was going back to the shop, but he was no longer there, and neither was the shop. So that was kind of spooky, but I was determined. I mean, I always am, but it's just funny how that happened. It was like I made everything. I was determined. Each day I was learning new things on YouTube, and I still managed to make it, even though some things were bought at the time as well. I just kept being motivated. I learned how to do so many things over the years, try new costumes, try new techniques, so ruffles and beading and everything, and getting used to hand sewing as well as using the machine. I'll also be doing some how to do beading tutorials as well. So please don't get discouraged if you do make mistakes. A lot of the time when you're just starting out, you will get better, and I wish you the best of luck too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.